for a woman to be attracted to a man, I think it will go back to even like her childhood and the type of relationship that she had with her dad.
Yes.
And like the man that her dad is.
Yes.
Welcome to the Emily and Todd Podcast. Today we are talking about attraction.
Women now, for the first time in history, have the ability to have looks be much higher on their scale of attraction versus all the other things, because there's a big difference if you're going to be a housewife in the 50s and you need to depend upon that man to take care of everything. Then the looks go down. And for most of human history, or recorded history, it's one of those things where attraction and love wasn't even part of the contract. No. It was just
arranged.
It was arranged by families most of the time, or would this this woman have sturdy hips so she can provide me children to help work on the farm. But now that women are making their own money, then they can say, okay, I can be more discerning now. Because I don't think that biologically there's a lot of difference between what women are attracted to and men are attracted to, as far as when we're talking about looks.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I think women for a longest period of time didn't have that option as much. And so it's something that was probably always there, but they weren't able to act on it.
That's what I see in my female friends, is that there are very specific types, and they seem to really vary. And then I also hear it even on social media, where like the dad bod is a thing for a lot of women. They swear by it. They swear that it's not.
I think it's a swear
because of
that's
anything
virtue
else.
signaling.
You think so?
I think so. I think if you took a guy who was in shape and kind of had the classic V taper, and or was even again probably thin, like if they were younger, do you know what I mean? Versus a guy who's skinny fat or just overweight. It's something that I really believe that like most women are not attracted to that, no matter what they say. It's what they do that matters.
Well, it could be the matter of they kind of convince themselves that along with that, like it's the package deal, right? Like along with the dad bod comes more stability and more loyalty potentially from him. And, maybe he's not totally in shape because he works a lot and he doesn't have time, to go to the gym.
Sure.
So there's other things that she's looking at when it comes to that.
And then I would say that if that guy doesn't have that, he better have some money and status. That's where my belief system lies, is that it's for women looking at guys, they're looking at looks, money, and status.
Yeah. If women are turning up to be higher earners and they still want to be coupled up with a man, that would be the one that they're seeking, is the more submissive, I guess, feminine, for lack of a better word, man.
Yeah. Well, that's the only way it's really going to work, because you have to have the yin and the yang, right?
Right.
Because if you have two people who, like in either way, if two people are really meek and submissive, they're going to be sitting on opposite ends of the couch, when they're on their first date. And then, but if you have two people that are very dominant and, have all those kind of traits, then there's going to be a lot of butting heads, because this, and our audience does too. Like, there's no relationship that is issue free. And so it's one of those things where, do you have the skill set and do you have the, kind of demeanor to be able to kind of work through those things?
Right. And do you think whether a man really turns out submissive in their feminine versus in their masculine, do you think that is also dependent on like their actual family structure, like how their mom and dad are?
Sometimes, but I think with guys, a lot of times it's honestly just not being confident. It's just kind of having a low self-esteem, not really being confident as far as being assertive. And, maybe again, there was childhood abuse. This guy's gotten beaten down, or maybe, there's just something about him that is just, whether it has to do with his looks, his personality, his intelligence.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That if, like for example, he's not a high earner at all, or he's a low earner, it's hard to be super masculine, although, when you see that, it's something where it almost is something you kind of laugh at internally. Like someone, for example, who, like has a minimum wage job and like he's in his 40s, but he's cocky.
Yeah.
Then it's like
it doesn't match.
It doesn't mix. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so it just makes the guy look foolish.
Yeah. I could see that. So, I mean, in that case, if it's more of those negative reasons as to why a man is in his feminine, that might not be the best thing for him. It may not be the best real setup for even, the gender roles.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of that, again, I hate to use this word because I don't like to put people in like specific categories, but, kind of that beta, meaning the fact that you're somebody that isn't confident, isn't assertive. If there's a task that needs to be done, is not going to step up and get it done, is, afraid of confrontation, all those different things where in order to navigate the world, I think a successful man has to have those qualities.
Now, what about men that are promiscuous themselves? Let's say they have a high body count. Because I do also think that this is sort of wrong, is if they have a high body count, but then they are seeking a woman that has a low body count.
Yeah.
Like that mismatch, it doesn't make sense in my head. Like, because her with a low body count is also probably going to seek the same thing in her partner, to not have at least like a crazy high count. Like they need to be within some sort of decimal of each other.
I don't know. I might disagree with that a little bit.
Do you think so?
Because, it's something that shows pre-selection, which for, again, a lot of women, they'll say, okay, this is a guy who has options and options are attractive.
I think it depends.
Like I can lock him down. If I can lock him down after he's had all, and again, I'm not saying somebody like yourself, because I think, that you have a certain insight that a lot of women don't. But I think that for like an average woman, if a guy has a decently high body count, but he says, you know what, I just want to be with you now, babe. And
that probably does work.
Yeah. It's something where she's like, wow, like I feel really good. I feel special.
Yeah. I could see that understanding and that thought process from her. It's very different from how I think, obviously. Sure. But I don't know. I think as long as it's like within a somewhat similar range. Like I think that a woman that has like a history of 3 partners and then she's looking to date a man that has like a history of 50, like that, I think that's a big difference. And she would probably struggle with that. If it's like just the same as her or above, but like under 15, like I could see that being kind of that pre-selection range, because she's also looking for a guy that's going to be a relationship guy, right? Because most women want relationships. So if his body count is like way up there, then it kind of works against that pre-selection part of it. She's thinking, how steady is he? Am I really that special to be the one? Because she's going to doubt that. She's going to look at more so his history of going from woman to woman to woman and be concerned that she's just one more of those. For a woman to be attracted to a man, I think it will go back to even like her childhood and the type of relationship that she had with her dad.
Yes.
And like the man that her dad is.
Yes.
Right? So like I think that if he was the hard worker, masculine role model, I think that a woman looks for that.
Makes sense.
I think she's attracted to that. I think physical features probably don't matter as much, like color hair and color eyes to her dad, but it's more of like how he makes her feel.
Sure. Even if it's negative, because it's one of those things where you just, you kind of want to repair those relationships that you had in the past. And so it's something where a lot of times, what gets scary is that there's a lot of, women and men, who were raised primarily by mothers. And so they don't have any male role models. So, but I think, and then of course dating apps. And the thing with, if you're getting flooded with hundreds, if not thousands of matches, what are you going to do? I don't blame women at all for saying, I'm going to try to get with the guy that I'm most attracted to. Mm-hmm. You're not going to like pick the middle of the road guy when you have, when you're matched with 20 Chads.
Right. And in that case, on a dating app, they're definitely looking at physical features.
Yeah, because that's all you have to go on pretty much.
Right. And I think that works against them too, because there are a lot of things, like if they met that guy in person, that they would find attractive that is outside of the physical features. So
but what's interesting though is that if you look at the data, okay, it's one of those things where it's, traditionally women have always kind of proclaimed that they weren't into looks that much.
Yeah.
Okay. And where like guys have always been really obvious about, or candid about saying, yes, looks matter. But with the dating apps, like guys will swipe on like, I think it's like 45-50%, where women will swipe on 5%.
Isn't that terrible? I've heard that stat.
Yes. So it's that 5%, it's the same guys.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's something where that has changed, because when I was in my 20s, like you could be a 3 and you could find another 3.
Yeah, because in the real world, women were not only saying yes to 5% of the people that were coming up to them.
Yes.
So I think that absolutely demonstrates, what I'm saying on dating apps.
Yes.
That, it really does work against women, because they're not even allowing themselves to give a guy a chance that she would be attracted to in person.
Yes.
And it just kind of
exactly
cuts that off.
Yeah. And so, then you have the height filter as well, which has become, newer thing. But it's something that, for the average woman, the average guy is going to be taller. But in real life, like, for example, if you met me, would you know the difference if I was 6 feet or 6'2"?
No.
Because you're like 5'3", right?
Yeah, 5'4".
5'4", okay.
Give me that extra.
Sorry. But it's one of those things where you're not going to be able to know that difference. But on a dating app, you would be able to.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a prime example. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't understand women that say that they want a man that's 6 feet or taller. Mm-hmm. I don't get it.
I think it's like a status thing to a certain degree, because it's only like 15% of the population. Mm-hmm. So it's something, if you can land a guy who's in that category, then it's something where, and I think it's also evolutionary driven to a certain degree, as far as, that shows kind of dominance and strength. Mm-hmm. Because let's be honest, like no woman, even before dating apps, like wanted to date a guy who was shorter than her.
Yeah.
You don't really ever see that.
That is true. Yeah. I think back to maybe why I really have no preference, as long as he is like taller than me, I would say.
Yeah.
I kind of go along with that.
But what if he was 5'5"? Like, let's say, like he was an inch taller than you. Yeah, I kind of
semi-dated somebody that was, I think, 5'5".
Okay.
Yeah. It was
semi-dated.
It was one of those semi-dated.
Okay.
It was not very long, but like that was not one of the things that I even like.
That guy must have had a lot going on besides that.
No, like I think back though why I think that way, and maybe it's my family. Like I feel like I don't have that much height in my family. So maybe that's why. I mean, if women are coming from a family that you have
a dad that you're very close with, and I'm assuming he's not very tall either.
No, I think he's like 5'8", maybe, or 5'9".
Yeah.
Definitely not 6 feet. So yeah, maybe that is like one physical feature that I'm pulling from, from my dad.
So I'll ask you this: like, so what would be your ideal guy as far as attraction? What would that look like?
So for me, that would look like somebody that is like very confident, holds good energy, somebody that is a good communicator, that doesn't fear uncomfortable conversations. So somebody that's like, I guess, has a growth mindset, right? And then as far as we could get into physically. I know. I was leading with the emotional stuff. All right, physically. Okay, this is where I think women definitely differ in their types. I think that I do have a type. I think like dark hair, dark eyes. And I try to relate that back to probably like my first couple of boyfriends. I really like they had the same features, and it just like for whatever reason. Maybe it was some like crush I had when I was 12. You know, he probably had dark hair and dark eyes. But that's like still, even then, that's not the leading thing for me. I mean, I have definitely gone on dates with people that don't have those specific physical features. But I would say clean cut, you know, is in shape because that is something that I value in myself in keeping a healthy lifestyle. And yeah, it just smells good. That's one thing too that I think is important, and has like a good voice and can speak well. Those are all things I feel like you see in the first date.
The difficult thing with, I think, men nowadays is that before you kind of could get away with having a good job and being a decent guy and so on and so forth, and that would be enough. Where now it's kind of, you have to have, like, women want everything.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And the reality is that the guys that are that everything, you know, probably aren't going to stay around. And are they going to be able to get them anyways?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's like, I think it goes both ways. Living in reality with who is going to be attracted to you as you are to them. And then also like lifestyle and what your future is really going to look like.
Yes.
Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and watch the next recommended video. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.